Hey everyone, I hope you're taking it easy and your day has been great thus far. For this video we'll be going through a look at Generation 1 Starscream, and this version of Starscream is part of the AMK mini series, which will be about an 11cm model kit released by Yolopark. Although I think it might have been also distributed by Doyusha. I get very confused with who's doing what these days, but anyway, time will tell. Now previously, previous video for the previous week, how many times can I use the word previous? We looked at G1 Megatron. This week we'll look at G1 Starscream, although this isn't the first time we've seen G1 Starscream. I did do a short of this some time ago through the blind box version of the miniseries. Anyway, front of the box with a very nice image of Starscream himself with his usual smirk and just a very typical Starscream pose. But that does look very, very cool. I do like how they've gone the more G1 style artwork style, obviously with the wording and the more purpleized background colors with the square grid. It does look very cool. So that's the front of the box. On the side, we have yet another image of Starscream. On the side, just pretty much Transformers emblazoned. But in terms of the back of the box, we do get a finished image of the model kit of Starscream. Once again, it's not the first time we've seen it. Pretty much the steps on how to put Starscream together, so everything's pretty much like the main primary bits are all pre-assembled. It's just pretty much putting everything together at the joints, and then the rest of the actual AMK mini-series. So Megatron we've done, Starscream we're doing, Soundwave Prime, Bumblebee, Grimlock will probably be done in the upcoming weeks. It's probably a safe wager to say Soundwave will probably be next week. Probably. But yeah, so far so good. Now obviously with these four, this will be the first time I look at them when I finally do it. I didn't elect to do any more blind boxes, so it'll be the first time looking at those four. Anyway, that's pretty much the box side of things done. Time to look at the actual inside. So we'll get the quick little one-pager instructions and the actual tray with Starscream's components. And with everything out of the box, here we have the dedicated actual manual for building Starscream. So even more very nice G1 styled artwork of Starscream. It is very nice to see this now. The actual figure I think won't necessarily be exactly color for color, but it's definitely not too bad. But it's good to see that. On the back will just pretty much just be a rundown of the articulation and things like that. So that's the front of the manual. Inside it's just very basic breakdown on putting everything together. Now because Starscream is much more symmetrical than Megatron was, everything has literally been prefixed as left and right. So whatever you do on one side, you do on the other. So definitely not too bad. And then the back is just a breakdown of the articulation and movement some of those joints will have, which we'll see anyway. So that was that. Now give me 1 second to make a little bit of noise in the background. Anyway, the main event, the tray of Starscream components. So here is everything. It was pretty much easy to take off the covering, unlike when I did the which Yolopark model kit was it? Anyway, that was one that was a bit more difficult. Anyway, so everything here for Starscream. So we've got his head, main body is pretty much all done, waist, legs and feet, all the hands, and the arms. So everything you need to put Starscream together. I'm not going to do a time-lapse build for Starscream, given that there is the short, which I'll probably have a link to somewhere. So from this I will just put everything together out of the tray. But that does look very cool, having everything listed there and easy to put together. So hopefully the assembly will just take a few, well, hopefully not a few minutes, just a minute or two. And then we will have yet another look at Generation 1 Starscream as a AMK mini-series model kit. Okay, with Starscream now put together, so here we have one Starscream model kit done and dusted, and some of those extra hand manipulators. So we've got left and right open hand, and then left and right pointed finger. It's just a quick look at those ones. So there's that, which I'll put to the side, and then just the open ones as well. They're definitely not too bad. It's always nice to have some of these extra hands. Now, as for Starscream, so here we have Starscream from a front profile, side profile, the back, which does have some extra paint apps and things like that, which is unfortunate. It's on the back as opposed to the front. Other side profile, and just a bit of a 3/4 profile. Now there is some paint there for his eyes. It's just very difficult to see because, I don't know, his head is very, very dark. But, yeah, it's definitely not too bad. So visually, definitely not too bad. I mean, it's probably not a necessarily bad thing that some of those paint apps are missing on the back of the wing, given that the arms pretty much cover that through and through. Now, in terms of putting Starscream together, like I said with Megatron in the previous video, and I'm pretty sure I would have said it in the blind box, some of the joints can be quite stiff, and I think it will be quite noticeable when I do some of the articulation run through. The legs actually didn't give me too much grief, which I think with Megatron they did, but the legs were okay. Probably the shoulder to the forearm bits were a little bit tight. Head was definitely a bit tight. Torso wasn't too bad. But yeah, the assembly is definitely not difficult. Intuitive, as you would have seen from the tray. Didn't actually even need the instruction manual or anything. But yes, joint tightness is definitely going to be hit or miss. So that could be both. Well, it is both a good thing and a bad thing. Anyway, now that we've had a look at Starscream, in terms of articulation, so his head is supposed to move 360, but this is to the point where the stiffness in that joint is absolutely ridiculous. So I'm actually not going to try anymore because I'm probably going to injure something. His head does obviously move up and down, but as you can tell, like, that is a lot of friction in that joint. Now obviously there are ways to probably make that joint a lot more not as tight. I'd probably have to take his whole head off again. Yeah, I'm not going to do that right now. So yes, given it's a ball socket, his head would have 360 movement, but for the purpose of this, it is that tight. I'm not going to try. As for his arms, so they'll definitely go around so much, but because his wings are pretty much in the way and are fixed in place, they're not going to do a full 360 at the actual shoulder joint. There's no real movement in the null rays. They can obviously be detached, but unlike some other figures, they cannot be mounted into his hands. In terms of the elbows, so we're going to have that much movement there, which is definitely not a bad thing. We do have some rotation. Actually, I'm going to take the null ray off momentarily. There will be rotation up here as well. That is also tight as well, so your mileage might vary for your particular model kit. And then the actual wrist is obviously going to do a full 360 spin and can obviously be detached for some of the other hand options. Now I feel like I almost pulled some of the wings. Okay, so with a lot of, I wasn't actively trying, you can pull apart his back from his chest. So now his arm can do a full 360. Always good to know. Yes, I don't think that's obviously the intent. So I'm just going to put Starscream back together again. So there you go. That was a nice little thing to do while doing the review. His torso will do a nice full 360, which actually does rotate quite nicely. As for his legs, it's definitely not too bad in the ways of a front kick. You'll get more of a back, actually. I was going to say he's going to get more of a back kick. Oh, wow. Okay. He does get more of a back kick, despite the fact his wings being there. They will actually clear. I mean, they touch, but there's actual clearance. So that's the front and leg at the hip. We do get this nice 360 at the upper leg, which did feel a lot smoother than the arm. In terms of the knee bend, we pretty much get that much coming down. That's pretty much all we get in the way of an actual kick. And the foot, just because of the way that it's been recessed in, pretty much go only that much left and right. You can go up and down a bit within the actual ball socket, because it is a ball socket in there, but you're not going to get anything in the way of a 360 rotation. And obviously Starscream does stand on his own 2 feet without any issues. So that's pretty much a quick look at some of the articulation available within this particular model kit. Now, before I get too carried away, since I had him nearby, here's Starscream with Megatron. So the two together. Now, paint apps wise, they're definitely not too bad, especially for the size they are in, the price point, etc. So there's definitely enough paint detailing to, you know, make them a bit more distinguished. There's, yes, some paint details missing, which I guess could be considered as a bit of a unfortunate thing, but once again, for the price point and the scale, there's definitely more paint than you would necessarily expect for it. And to be honest, it still looks really good. I mean, the fact that they've done the eyes on the head is actually really cool. Obviously Megatron was lucky, he had a lot more paint apps done, and then obviously Starscream has that on the back, which does look really, really cool. It's just unfortunate it's on the back. So that's Starscream and Megatron together. Maybe we'll do it this way. So what do I think about this particular version of Starscream? So I guess from the mini-series as a whole, to get these two individually, you do have to pay a bit more than the blind box, which admittedly did come out later than these did as individuals. So that is something to bear in mind. But if you want like a guaranteed Starscream, guaranteed Megatron, or guaranteed any of the 6 of them, obviously buying the individual one is a lot better. You don't have to worry about the blind box. The disadvantage of doing that, however, was the fact that the blind boxes do have an extra incentive of there is a chance of 2 of the redecos, which I believe was Nemesis Prime and it was either Skywarp or Thundercracker. I can't remember which one. So that's obviously something to bear in mind. In terms of what it is like, it's actually definitely not too bad. Like, I'm not expecting it to be on par with a full-on action figure. Basic paint apps are there. The detailing, surprisingly, is still quite nice for this figure. So if I really wanted to, I could go back and, you know, do some extra detailing, panel lining, maybe do some color corrections here and there to just give him a little bit more pop. Given that I have 2 Starscreams, I could do that with one and not both of them, just to see how it looks, so I don't necessarily ruin one in the process. But it can definitely be done. So I actually might try that at some point in time later in the future. Likewise, I've got 2 Megatrons, so I could actually do that. Obviously, the amount of articulation that the figure has is definitely not too bad. It's not going to be completely static. I've done some posing with Megatron and done some photo sets on both Instagram and the community tab. Now, obviously, it's not action figure scale. It's not some of the quality you get in some of the larger AMK models either. So you can do some articulation, but obviously there's still going to be some hindrance. Now, the other thing to bear in mind is, as I've said, especially with Starscream, those joints will vary in mileage. Some will actually work really well, so like some of these ones in the legs just worked really, really well. Others, like the head, will just be really, really, really tight. So just keep that in mind, that when posing and things like that, and putting the kit together, you could have some extra challenges with some of the joints. Obviously there are ways around it, but just definitely keep that in mind. The joints seem to be very much the consistent thing here, that some will be really, really tight. Some will actually be not, I don't want to say loose. In fact, I haven't had any loose joints yet, but some of the joints will just swivel, turn, move around, etc. as intended, with a lot more freedom, I think is probably what I'm trying to get at. But overall, I'm definitely happy to build out my collection of these little mini model kits. As I I've been saying in the video, there are still 4 more to go, so it'd be nice to have all 6 done and dusted, you know, within the upcoming weeks, hopefully, if all goes to plan. I'm going to leave it there for Starscream. I don't think there's too much more to add because it's going to start becoming a variation of a theme. But he does look very cool. It's nice to have the 2 of them together. And once I get Soundwave, will be the usual 3 trio. Who knows, maybe I'll try and do some Starscream repaints to try and do Skywarp and Thundercracker. Given that, it actually wouldn't be too difficult to repaint. I mean, all the bits that I would probably need to do is basically these blue bits, redo the red, and that is probably it. Will it be a bit messy? Probably, but it could be done. Mind you, I don't want to go on a mission to get like blind boxes of Starscream just to get another one. I don't think I'm going to be that lucky. Anyway, leaving it there. Thank you very much for sticking around for this little unboxing and review of this G1 Starscream as part of the AMK mini series. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the content. This does support the channel and I do appreciate it. There'll be some stuff on Instagram and hopefully some stuff on the community post as well. So I flip between different quote-unquote projects, first Transformers, Gunpla, 40k, stuff like that. So I've got a very wide berth of content. With that being said, stay safe, take care. I will catch you all in potentially next week's Transformers themed video, which probably will be the AMK miniseries Soundwave. Otherwise, there's going to be some other stuff on the channel that pops up before then as well. With that being said, until the next time, see ya.